Well, we just got done the first duel out of two, the Gatorade duels from the series of the field fillers at Daytona International Speedway. If you have not watched Duel 1 yet and you'd like to, go back and watch that video. Should be somewhere on this channel just before this one. But if you are here for Duel number 2, this is going to be a fun one. It is the second of two 20-car, 30-lap events that will determine the qualifying for the Daytona 500 to wrap up Speed Weeks here in the inaugural SOTFF, or Series of the Field Fillers season opener. 20 cars in Duel 1, 20 cars in Duel 2. Everyone is guaranteed a spot, even if you finish last. Because of the car counts, you know, it's not what it used to be with 61 entries in the Daytona 500, although this has consisted of backmarkers and field fillers and those, you know, who didn't really make the cut too well. But we will have an interesting field today, just like it was in Duel number 1. We're going to see some green flag pit stops, assuming that the race goes that far without incident or without caution. And this one will definitely be a thriller, to say the least. Although Duel 1 was a bit of good racing mixed with a boring finish. Kenny Wallace won the race by sheer virtue of Johnny Benson not being so inclined as to give up his position in order to try to take the lead. I mean, everybody was in a single-file train at the end, and nobody budged, nobody moved because it was the last lap, and ended up being Kenny Wallace's race to win. On the front row today, though, for Bell Car Racing, it is Todd Bodine in the number 54 National Guard, a very patriotic Ford. Another Ford on the outside of row 1, which is Dave Blaney. Blaney was originally driving in the real world back in 2003, the Jasper Racing number 77, before Penske picked it up. However, because of the fact that Boris Said is driving the 60, and Boris Said could have actually been in 3 different rides in this series. The 36, which is actually driven by former Ginn Racing truck driver Craig Kinzer. And you'll get into more of the lore and the backstories of everything in this series as we go along. However, just for now, this is, you know, what we have so far. So in Duel number 2, we'll take a look at the hood camera, cockpit camera, whatever, of the number 67 of Dave Blaney, as we will get started with Duel number 2 of Daytona Speed Weeks.
Drivers, start your engines!
Well, it's the same thing as before. It's just one little poo, and then we're done with it. Well, the cars are coming off pit lane, all 20 of them, getting set for Duel 2. This will make up the outside row of the Daytona 500 as we wrap up Speed Week. Let's take a look at the qualifying order for today's race. Row 1 is Todd Bodine and Dave Blaney. Row 2 is Mike Garvey, the first of 2 entries for CE, or Championship Edge, Mike Garvey Racing. In the 4th position is Regan Smith on the outside lane, one of 3 Ginn Racing entries. In the number 92 is P.J. Jones, and on the outside of row 3 is Mike Skinner for Bill Davis Racing. In the 4th row is another Ginn Racing entry to number 13 of Joe Nemechek, and Ken Schrader to his outside of BAM Racing. In row 5, we have Hermie Sadler in the 02, and Morgan Shepard in his own team, Shepard Racing Ventures, in the number 89, racing for Jesus Ford. In row 6, we have Craig Kinzer, former Ginn Racing truck driver, in the number 36, and Robby Gordon, another team owner, Robby Gordon Motorsports, to his outside. Row 7, we have Dan Pardis in the number 73 for Rab Racing Enterprises, and then Klaus Graf, the second BAM Racing entry, to his outside. Row 8, we have Kevin LePage in the number 61 and the number 98 of Randy LaJoy. In row 9, we have the second Mike Garvey car, Stuart Kirby driving this one, the number 51, and then Stanton Barrett of Stanton Barrett Racing to the outside. The second Stanton Barrett entry in this field is the number 95 of Ron Barfield Jr., who lines up at 19th, and in last is the number 08 of Shane Neal driving for Braun Racing. So this one's going to be interesting to say. 30 laps, 20 cars. Last time there was only 1 caution, and it was because of a spin involving Boris Said and David Ruderman. And the pace car comes off of pit lane. Todd Bodine and Dave Blaney, 2 Fords on the front row from Daytona. Let's run this back again. Green flag in Duel 2. Going in the 3 on the first lap, Todd Bodine with a good advantage. P.J. Jones sneaking his way in the second. Joe Nemechek right behind. A nice 70 degrees here in Daytona for the two duels as Todd Bodine of Belcar Racing and that patriotic number 54 leads the first lap. Look at Hermie Sadler all the way on the bottom lane trying to make room, and eventually they do. It's 3 wide. He looked like he was really just a duck out to dry, but instead he hangs on to his position. He's in 8th, rather in 2nd. Don't know why I said 8th. And not everybody's got their best days, but really, in all fairness, this is just, you know, I think with 3x3 racing there, maybe at least 9 to 10 guys running their own lanes. And we saw some drama with 2 laps to go in Duel 1 because there were some guys who were going 4 wide, like Hillenburg and Reigns, and there was a lot of contact for guys that weren't even really competing for a top spot at best. They were maybe going to qualify 15th or 17th, something along those lines at Daytona, so they kind of were like, you know, let's see if we can make this work, and eventually they did. There was no wreck. Like we said, the only wreck came at the conclusion of the green flag pit stops when everybody was kind of jumbled up, and what had actually happened, it appeared that David Rudiman had turned the 60 of Boris Said, but what had actually happened was that Rudiman came across the nose of the 09 of Johnny Benson Jr. and actually caused him to turn the 04 of Rudiman into Said. Neither of them hit the wall. They just had some quarter panel damage that they buffed out, and that was it. Both of them were able to recover and get top 10s. I mean, Said almost won the darn thing. Kenny Wallace did not lead the majority of laps that day. It was all the way through and through Boris Said's race to win. And I don't know if the accident slowed him down or anything of the sort, but it was quite obvious that, you know, he was leading the most laps. He was kind of like doing what Todd Bodine is doing now, where he has a good lead over the rest of the field, and he can kind of just cruise. Everybody's scrambling behind him for positions. Well, guess what? You have all 3 Ginn Racing cars. The 13, 39, and 36. That's Nemechek, Smith, and Kinzer that are all running one line, except for Nemechek now, as they all kind of got broken up there inadvertently. Schrader almost turned the 36 and forced him up high, and now side by side for second place is the 13 of Joe Nemechek and the 39 of Regan Smith. You're on board with the 13. Look who's 3 wide for third. I mean, Smith is right there on the tail of the number 54 of Bodine, with his older brother, Brett Bodine, running in the first duel. And in that first duel, the number 11, he actually did place 4th, so he will start 7th in the Daytona 500. That would be interesting, though, if you have the 2 Bodines on the same row, the 54 and the 11. But 19 out of the 20 cars that day finished, I should say that day. It's right now, it's 2 continuous races. Kirk Shelmerdine was the only car that did not finish on the lead lap. He was 3 laps down, if you remember. In a bit of an interesting fashion, he actually cut across the racetrack after leaving pit lane. I don't know if it was a technical error or something wrong with his car, but he did it twice, so he got held for about 5 minutes in the pits, either trying to fix the problem or if the official said, that's enough, you're not going back out there for a while. And he eventually ended the race 3 laps down in 20th, so he will start the race in row 20 on the inside, in 39th, and right now in last, if you're the kind that really likes the last car fandom. Right now in last is the number 08 of Shane Meal. Started last, in last, hasn't been able to keep up with the pack at all. He's running, in fact, the fastest lap today would belong to the 92 of P.J. Jones with a 46.684. Well, guess what? That is 3 seconds off the pace. Dave Blaney, the outside pole sitter, making a foray back to the front. He's in second. He was getting help from Ken Schrader in the Red Baron number 49. now he is no longer, as now he's kind of got to fight for himself. I mean, these guys are switching lanes, they're switching draft partners all the time. They really have no regard for their teammates or whatnot. Well, I mean, except for that first moment where you saw the 3 Ginn racing cars kind of duking it out, and now Regan Smith with a chance to lead. I don't know if Todd Bodine is even going to have a chance on that outside line, or whether Joe Nemechek or Ken Schrader is going to get an opportunity, but it seems like this might be the trend of Duel 2, might even be the trend of the Daytona main event, the Daytona 500, on Sunday, where you might see a 2-car tandem out there working together. Let's look at all these guys on the bottom, 3x3. You'll be on board with the number 49 of Ken Schrader from the 4th position on lap 9. Here comes Nemechek to the bottom. He might try to hook up with the number 39, his teammate, and it turns out he will. But the problem is they're so far spread out that they can't really draft just yet. They got to get closer for that to work. And Smith will lead another lap with the top 3 hugging the bottom line. They're really finding one groove and sticking to it. These guys are pretty smart here with 20 laps to go in a 30-lap race. You're barely 1/3 through it. Don't screw yourselves over. I mean, come on. Again, in a single-file train. Now they all break from that. The top 5 was really all in one singular train, and now they actually are going to form in another train. I don't know if that was the sole purpose of leaving Mike Skinner out of the pack, but if it was, then you might want to contact your guidance counselor about that. That was a bit of a rough move, since now he's down to 6. I gotta imagine he's pretty bitter about that, but now the 2 Ginn cars are working together, except now Smith is going to cut down in front of the 67, and Nemechek is left up high, although they could realign and possibly get their positions back, as Skinner might be making an attempt back into the top 5. I really thought that, it would either be Joe Nemechek or Todd Bodine. Maybe not Nemechek as much, but definitely Bodine, who would have a great shot of leading most of the laps like Boris said did today, but it kind of shows at a super speedway like Daytona, where whoever leads the most laps might not always be the victor. All you have to do is lead 1 lap. That's the most important factor. And if that 1 lap that you lead is the last lap, then so be it. Gosh darn it, you're the winner. Not Boris said. He did drive that car in real life, though. In 2003, he was a part of Jasper's second entry. As look at Mike Garvey going down low there. Trying to make something work as Blaney got shoved a little bit up high. Now basically everybody is in one single file train. Except for these 2 tandemers right here. Blaney and Skinner. Almost said Sid. Almost said. It's always an interesting grammatical statement right there. Look at weaving from the top to the bottom, back to the top. That is the 10th place car of Craig Kaiser, who, well, for Kaiser, I mean, he hasn't been exactly in the greatest of luck, as, he was really only put into this spot because Boris said was going to drive to 60. Like we said, if we wanted to realign where he was in this series, he could have driven either the 36 or the 67. But instead, he's with the 60 instead. From the 2007 campaign. or from whatever races they ran with them. Smith is out of the lead, by the way. Mike Garvey of Championship Edge, or rather Competitive Edge, Mike Garvey Racing. It's a bit of a mouthful to say, but they're fielding 2 cars, as that is Mike Garvey's own car that he fields, the number 75 Janiking Dodge. However, the 51 of Stuart Kirby is right now in 18th on the other end of the field. You can kind of tell which brand of motorsports owns which car, as we have 3 cars entering the pits. Skinner, Kaiser, and Graff. After that, it looks like the 98 of LaJoy, the 73 of Dan Pardis, 95 of Barfield Jr. As right now, the new leader would be either Bodine or Nemechek. Rather, not Nemechek, Schrader in the 49. And now all of these guys are going to cut down and make their pit stops, with the lone exception being Mike Garvey. As now all these guys will make their entrances in the pit road. Basically, 3/4 of the field. There's Shane Meal still down there and Stanton Barrett. They're just getting done their pit stops. In fact, Meal and Barrett are just getting started. I think Meal is going to get lapped on his pit stop. There's Todd Bodine, the pole sitter, getting into his position. As there is the 08. Kevin LePage having to get into his stall. Getting back out on track. As leaving the pit stalls first, looks like it's Bodine. By a long shot, it's Bodine. Now, the question is, does Mike Garvey pit this time? Yes, he will. He's pitting 1 lap behind the rest of the field, which could be... It's basically the opposite of strategic. I mean, everybody was going down there. I don't know if Garvey was on the same page as everybody else, but it's the opposite of a short pit. A short pit can very much be smart, but if you're doing the opposite of that and you're long pitting, then that's not really going to help you in the long run. Caution came out in the first duel. The lone caution of the day came out on lap 19, which was kind of retroactive. It was a lap after the whole incident between Said and Rudeman. But now that that's been semi-resolved, now you can see Todd Bodine out there. Wow, he is leading by a wide margin. Although he's being scored in... Oh, Mike Garvey. Can he beat out the 54? Wait a second. I don't think he's going to. I think Bodine's going to take the lead, but this might be tough. He's going to have to block if he wants to keep the lead. Will he block? No, he's going to stay on the apron and give Bodine the lead. Now he'll come up and take second. That actually is a little smart, taking that second spot. Now, you have such a big lead over everybody else, the 13, the 39, and the 49. That might not be the smartest move in hindsight, but now you at least have somebody in your rearview mirror. As I really thought that Mike Garvey was going to be really bold there. It wouldn't have been smart for Garvey to block the track and cause a Kevin LePage-esque incident, but it wouldn't have surprised me if it did happen. But Bodine right now leading, as he does have the fastest lap, 56.410, or 46.410, excuse me, leading by a second and a third, and then 4 seconds behind them is the 39 of Smith. You can just see by looking at his roof camera how far back he is. Those are those 2 leaders right there. They're going to end up getting rubber banded back into the field, I believe. But it's 13 laps. It almost seems like the perfect time for these guys to catch up to Todd Bodine and Mike Garvey and make a good finish out of it. I mean, all these guys are single file, except for these few right here. There's Gordon, there's Shepard. Right now, it appears that all the cars are on the lead lap, although the last one is Shane Neal, who could be lapped car trouble. Because, in fact, he's just getting down the backstretch. I mean, you saw that he basically almost got lapped on his pit stop, and now he's standing right in front of the leader, Todd Bodine. You're looking at his rear view camera. He's like almost a speckle in his rear view mirror right now, but Bodine is obviously, with the massive lead that he has here at Daytona, almost feels like a practice session. Everybody's running individually. Although now Mike Garvey, who might be a slower car than some, or at least in some sense has been caught up to by the two Ginn cars and the BAM Racing car to number 49. And Garvey doesn't even hold his spot anymore. He's going to be passed by all three. As here comes Bodine catching up on Meal, who's about 10 miles per hour slower. Meal goes high. Bodine's going to go low to try to thwart this and not create an accident, and he'll pass him just fine. Now, how do these four cars handle it? Because that is going to matter in the long run, how these four cars pass Shane Meal. Because Todd Bodine would just easily scoot away. I think they're all going to go high and pass the lapped car. Yeah, they will. Oh, no, Meal's going to block. Shane Meal is going to block the 30. He's going to block everybody. Oh, my gosh. A last-place car has blocked the top five. Oh, my gosh. That is crazy. And that's going to allow the 49 and the 75 to get a good opportunity. Schrader and Garvey, and now the two Ginn Racing cars, they're not exactly left in the dust, but they're not in optimal positions at all. They eventually do get past Meal, but if you're Todd Bodine, that was a big break. That was a big break. And now the 49 is approaching. He is getting really close. Oh, sorry, that's Stanton Barrett. Now Schrader is in the lead. So I told you that rubber banding effect, it would end up working in some capacity, as it looks like it's ever so likely that we will finish this race under green unless there is a big incident. But now Ken Schrader of BAM Racing, he's in the lead. Schrader's teammate, the number 59 of Klaus Graf, he's back in 8th. Not really in the lead pack, but at least of some potential of being something there. It's now Schrader in the lead. Ginn's cars behind him. Look at Regan Smith right there. Oh, going down to the bottom, being risky. He got enough draft, he got enough air on the front of his car to possibly, lift him along. That's exactly what he's doing right here. Ken Schrader's going to lose the lead to Regan Smith. Oh boy, now down the backstretch, side by side for first. He leaves the bottom lane open for Nemechek, but now Smith comes down to try to get an extra draft help or so from the 13 of Nemechek. The third Ginn car that we had talked about earlier, he is not even in this main pack. He's not even in this pack. Where is he? Where's the 36 of Craig Kaiser? Oh, there he is. I'm sorry, I missed him. He's in 11th. My apologies. Basically all single file, but these top 5 are going to be the ones that make or break whatever happens with 6 laps to go. 2 of the Ginn Racing cars, it's Smith and Nemechek, followed by Schrader, Bodine, who's led the most laps today by far, especially after the green flag pit cycles, but he's now been kind of swallowed up in that. Mike Garvey in 5th. Now they're all single file. This is really shaping up to be another finish like it was in Duel 2, or Duel 1 rather. Uh-oh. Oh, Stanton Barrett. I went silent for a second there because I'm like, what is Stanton Barrett going to do? And it turns out he's going to mess up Ginn Racing again in the process. Nemechek stuck up high with the 30. He's got to get down, but Barrett's blocking all over the place, just like Shane Meal was. And now Ken Schrader's back in the lead, and Bodine's back in second. So now Ginn is back to 4th and 5th, and in fact, those two cars... I mean, Stanton Barrett's driving like a madman. Now they're finally going to get around the 30, but it might be too little too late. Coming around to 5 laps to go this time, it's Schrader, Bodine, and Garvey. Schrader would start second in the Daytona 500, but no, wait a second, here comes Todd Bodine. In the 54, Schrader tried to come down and block him, but he doesn't get it with 4 to go. And instead, he's going to have to duke him out side by side for the lead on the backstretch. And also Regan Smith back into the draft. He's going to take 3rd away from Garvey. He might even find the open lane. Bodine blocks, but Smith still has a good enough run to push Bodine to the lead and maybe himself in the next couple of laps. They only have so much. It's not really train racing anymore. They're still going after it. But now everyone else is in a train except for Regan Smith, and now Garvey and Schrader get pushed up high. They're 3 wide back for 3rd. Schrader, Garvey, and Nemechek. 3 to go. Bodine in the lead. Smith in second. Nemechek right behind him. Now it's the train race again, although now Schrader and Garvey might not be as competitive as they once were. They're a little slower. I don't know if it'll have to do with Garvey's 1 lap sort of longer pit cycle on tires than it was before, and tires and gas, and now Smith gets stuck up high. Nemechek, his own teammate, even leaving him in the dust. 2 to go, 5 miles from Daytona in the second Gatorade Duel. Schrader back in 5th, although now Garvey's making a little bit of a push. Bodine back to the lead. I mean, hey, Boris said led the most laps, but he didn't win. What matters is that the person who leads the last lap is the one in victory lane. And now I think Nemechek's going to try to make a little last-ditch effort, although he might not wait until the last lap at this rate. White flag, Todd Bodine. Nemechek second, and his teammate, his rookie teammate, Regan Smith in 3rd, although now Smith is going low. But Bodine is able to clear them, the 2 Ginn Racing Chevrolets. And now Ginn Racing's number 39, Regan Smith, right on the tail of Todd Bodine with 1 lap to go. Smith's going to go low. He's going to go low. This might be a last lap pass for Duel number 2's victory. Bodine stays up high. Smith staying down low. Nemechek's kind of out of the fray at this point. Schrader making a last-ditch run. Who's going to get to the finish first? This is really close at the line. Regan Smith with a last lap pass. He wins the second Gatorade Duel. Oh my. Just leaving the pits was Craig Kaiser. As the top 5, oh boy, is going to be Smith. I believe Bodine was 2nd, Schrader was 3rd, Garvey's going to get 5th, and Nemechek's going to get 4th. I think everyone except for Meal and Barrett was on the last lap, and it was a 30-lap clean green flag run. It is going to be very, very interesting to see how Daytona plays out, the main Daytona event, Daytona 500. So on the inside pole at Daytona, guess who it'll be? It will be Kenny Wallace. On the outside will be Regan Smith of Ginn Racing. Until next time, from Daytona International Speedway. We'll see you at Daytona.